Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Sai. This is Yehuda 11. The program is 11 at 11, heard each and every Thursday evening, Leil Shishi, from 11 to midnight on 620 AM radio in New York and environs. You can also see us. The videos are archived on Levin, Levin, and the numeral 111111, which is our YouTube channel. You can also hear all of our archived radio programs on our hotline number. Please take it down, 641-715-3900, 641-715-3900, extension 247656, extension 247656, and occasionally our videos appear on Hefkervelt as well. This evening, we're going to talk about the recent Mishkav Zocha parade in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim, our chodesh. And concurrent with that, there was a protest from Peleg. And we'll comment on that. We'll comment upon the fact that there's actually a lady in upstate New York who was a town clerk who refused to marry two homosexuals. And Governor Cuomo was going after her with a vengeance. We are also just going to mention that Corey Johnson, the active Mishkav Zocher from Greenwich Village, who is the city council speaker, the most powerful person in city government after the mayor, is making sounds like he might want to run for mayor. We're going to talk about the Dati Le'umi have been taking up the cudgels for Kedusha as opposed to the Haredim. We're going to talk about how some foolish people are praising ultra-liberal Congressman Jerry Nadler. A fascinating story I had with Rav Shmuel Orbach, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, and Divrei Torah. And let us begin with a golden oldie. This is a speech on my website. My website, rabbilevin.com, is not updated. However, it does have some fascinating information, videos, etc. So let's go to this audio. If you go to my internet site, you can actually see it under the speakers, several speeches. This was a 10-minute speech that was given on the steps of an old federal courthouse in New York at a religious liberty rally. So let's go to the tape.
Spokesman for the Rabbinical Alliance of America, an occasional spokesman for the Union of Orthodox Rabbis of the United States and Canada. He is a pro-life and pro-family activist who has had op-ed pieces appearing in the New York Times. Please put your hands together for Rabbi. Yiyu Ratzon Imreki, the Hekion Libi Lefonefo, Aben Moit Suri Begor Ali. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be desirous to you, God, my rock and my redeemer. My name is Rabbi Yehuda Levin. I'm here today to stand shoulder to shoulder with my Christian fellow citizens in the fight for defense of our most sacred right, that of true and total religious liberty. First and foremost, I'm a proud Bible clinger. I'm a Jewish American, but I'm a Jew way before anyone ever dreamed of America. I'm a grandson of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. My progenitor Italian, and Roman diasporas. They survived pogroms, inquisitions, and holocausts, hangings, Hitlers, and pharaohs. The blood of my ancestors who lived and died for the credo. Thou shalt be holy because I, your God, am holy. Be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That blood and those charges coursed through my veins forced me to forsake the tenets and values of my father's faith. That is the message that extends from the Passover in Egypt to the heroism of thousands of survivors like my mother-in-law, a religious survivor who wears the brand of Auschwitz. May she live and be well. And it extends to the brutal murder of Rabbi Sanders' 3 children in Toulouse, France this week for worshiping God and believing in religious freedom. For in truth, this struggle, this denigrating of religion and faith values does not begin or end with forcing those who venerate God's gift of life to become a mindless dispensary utilized to fund and to provide directly or indirectly contraceptive or abortion-based life-denying formulas. This is but the symptom of an ever-metastasizing, anti-God, anti-Torah cancer that threatens religious people worldwide. Whether it's in France where Sarkozy questions the right to maintain requirements of kosher and halal meat, or in Sweden, which jailed Pastor Edgar Green for preaching in his church about biblical family values, or in Canada, where Dr. Laura's radio program without a focus on the family may have been censored, or in Massachusetts, where a parent, Mr. Parker, was forced to leave the state because he didn't want his daughter force-fed, yes, brainwashed with the anti-Torah values of the latest pro-deviant curriculum. We must wake up and fully oppose the unholy and anti-holy triumvirate consisting of ever-increasing elements of the political, judicial, and media arts axes that are squeezing our beliefs and values out of the public square, shoving us into the churches where these sacred beliefs will eventually be denied there as well if we don't talk up. My friends, we have a very small window of opportunity in which we, the religious people, must be courageously led by fearless religious leaders who are willing to face scorn and prison, and thus inspire and guide us to reoccupy the public square. Christians and Jews once had to face lions for hewing to their faith. Today, our leaders dare not be cowed by NBC and the New York Times. We don't need Brian Jack. We don't need hale and hearty fellow types who react tepidly in the midnight hour, but often surrendering more ground to the anti-religious, liberally social engineers. Dare I give you a simple solution that I don't believe has been mentioned here today, and with this I conclude. The religious denominations must draw a line in the sand, raising up from within the church a new generation of religious valued politicians, office holders, and judges. Raising from the most local level to the national level. We must instruct the faithful that that it is morally, ethically, and religiously forbidden to compromise with these sparrows at the ballot box. We must take some political scalps, and you will see how the feckless politicians start to back up in reverse. Only if our religious leaders stop tiptoeing and start leading and declaring that not only will they fight for the large churches, for the large denominations and their affiliates to be protected from our inquisitors, but each individual family and each individual religious citizen must be protected as well. All for one, and then one for all. In conclusion, last paragraph, it's up to the religious leaders to lead 24/7. Only then will history record our victory, and we will continue to be able to say and experience God bless America. Thank you.
Well, Rabbi Side, that was a golden oldie speaking at a rally of Gentiles in downtown Manhattan on the historic steps of the courthouse. It's much better when you see it on the video, and you can see it at rabbilevin.com if you go through some of the speeches there. Well, Rabbi Side, Governor Cuomo is moving significantly to the left because he is running for office. He's in a primary against Cynthia Nixon, an extreme leftist, and Mushchesis herself, former TV star. And Cuomo, as I mentioned before, has to win convincingly. If he doesn't win convincingly, even though there's very little danger of him losing the primary, but if he doesn't win convincingly, so this will doom any presidential ambitions for 2020, because people will say that when he ran in a primary 4 years ago against Zephyr Teachout, she got up, so I can't remember, it was 35% of the vote, 40% of the vote. She got the significant amount of the vote. If he repeats that fiasco this time, his political career running for president is pretty much doomed. So therefore, Cuomo, like every other feckless politician, is moving to the extreme left now, pushing all kinds of chazarai and schmutz. And therefore, when I assume a Christian woman in upstate New York in some small county refused to perform a marriage for two homosexuals, Cuomo immediately said they should come to the governor's mansion in Albany and he'll perform the marriage. And he ordered a full-scale investigation on this woman. He will persecute this woman in order for him to make his point with the liberal progressive left as how strong he is for their entire corrupt agenda. And yet the band plays on, and Governor Cuomo continues to be honored by so many in the Frum and the Orthodox community. And this is a tremendous problem, because here's where you have to have the hashkafa. In other words, there are baskols and there are baskols. There's a baskol every day that goes out from Chayrev, as the Chazal tell us. But what are the baskols for us that we can hear today? We don't hear it as a baskol coming from heaven, but we hear it in a news item. The news item tells us in this late stage of the devolving culture, in 2018, Lemisparam, way after the Supreme Court decided the marriage situation, way after New York State, which preceded the Supreme Court decision in recognizing same-gender marriage, this woman is still refusing for religious reasons, for her religious conscience, to perform this marriage. And she's willing to risk all kinds of problems. I don't know if it'll be jail or fines, certainly the loss of her income, of her parnasa. This is a signal to us, to Klal Yisrael, that makes the world go round, what we're supposed to be doing. And what are we doing? We're busy sending out tweets about how wonderful Corey Johnson, the homosexual activist speaker of the city council, is taking pictures with him at the Kaisel. Here's the latest. You know, there's going to be, I don't know if there's even a primary for Nadler. I'm not sure. Jerry Nadler, the longtime Oiswarf congressman who took over for Stephen Weiss, Mr. Weiss of blessed memory, was a Hungarian who was a congressman who represented both Greenwich Village and Borough Park, an ultra-liberal. And he died late in the game, right before an election, and Nadler managed to get his name there. And therefore, since then, for the last, I don't know, 15 years or more, he's been the congressman. I mamish remember one of the few times I was in a political clubhouse of Michael Geller on Coney Island Avenue. And guess who walked in? Chuck Schumer and Jerry Nadler. Now, I don't know if they realized I was there or not, and they did it dafka. I don't know ad hayem hazeh. But you know what they were discussing? Nadler says to Schumer, the first thing I have to do after I get into office is I have to introduce some sort of homosexual national legislation. Mamish, this was it was spiritual serendipity at the very least. I should hear if it wasn't by design. This is a Oiswarf, and I think he once learned in a modern Orthodox yeshiva in elementary school, something like that, though I'm not sure. Yeah, Jerry Nadler upset the Orthodox Jewish community when he voted with Obama on the Iran deal against the interests of Klal Yisrael. But you know who's running against him 2 years ago? Who was running against Nadler? A guy, a Yid, who was a homosexual from the West Side. So you understand what kind of choice was there. The Mushkas didn't win, a homosexual, an open homosexual. That was the best that could be put up against Jerry Nadler. So now again, the sycophants, the chanfonim of Agudas Yisrael or related to Agudas Yisrael and others are busy singing the praises of Nadler. Somebody sent out a tweet, somebody from Borough Park. He says, Jerry Nadler has always been there for the Jewish religious community except for his vote on Iran. In other words, we have to overlook that and we have to support him. Nobody mentions a word. He's for partial birth abortion. He's for mishkav zachar marriage. He's for all the schmutz. And there was a video where Jerry Nadler is interviewed by a homosexual reporter for a homosexual newspaper. And he's talking about the fact, you know, you represent Borough Park also in your and you know, you're so brave. And Nadler's laughing, yeah, I vote for the gay stuff, and you know, I'm all stark, etc., etc. And these Jaime idioten from our own community, they go in droves and give thousands of votes to Nadler. What would be if on election day, 10,000 people from Borough Park and environs would go into the voting booth, and when it comes for Congress, they would put in that the protest accomplishes a lot in preventing bad things from happening in our community. Bad things beruchnius and bad things begashmius. I really believe that there's a connection between the child molestation, etc. And as I mentioned in last week's program, and the fact that we don't care about the legislators and the legislation they're doing. We bury our heads in the sand like ostriches. So Mamela, it comes out that if we don't care, so Hashem deals with us mida keneged mida. So imagine if 10,000 people went in and they voted on the conservative line against Nadler, or if they did a write-in, even better. They wrote in no schmutz or no immorality. Imagine what would it take? Nothing. It would zicha prevent arayus in the community. It would prevent certain sicknesses. You know, I think it was the Chavetz Chaim, I forget which God it was who said that in years past by, in years gone by, there was in the Shemayim, they looked with great specificity, very scrupulous, You know, the diamond merchants have a little glass that studies the facets of the diamond. It's called a loop. They take it, it's like a microscope. In former years in the Shemayim, they had loops, they had microscopes. And every single act of a mitzvah that a person did, every tefillah, they would examine it. And they were very medactic. But now there's such a thirst in the Shemayim for mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, because niskatnu adayros, that they literally suck up everything. In other words, today it's relatively easy to leverage the slightest thing that we do positive, and that we should get a tremendous amount of schar, both for the yochid and for the tzibur. So, Yosef Rappaport, formerly of Hamadia, very intelligent fellow. I'm friendly with him somewhat when we see him. But I got to say, it's a liberal claptrap. He sent out a tweet or something, a stupidity, a mamish shreklach. He says, we have to be grateful. I agree with the previous tweet of the previous person that Natalie was always for the community. We have to be grateful that when we see in Queens this Alexandria Cortez, or whatever her name is, the ultra liberal who just beat Joe Crowley, the powerful congressman in Queens, and the Queens County Democratic chairman. So we have to be grateful that we don't have that. And in Mela, we should banugin, we should be zufrieden, we should feet, F-E-T-E, we should celebrate that we have such a good guy like Nadler. I don't understand, Rabbi Rappaport. Kaisum Ksubal Lezacha doesn't mean anything to you? Harigas Ubarim doesn't mean anything to you? All the other liberal stuff on his agenda, it's Ki'ilu Lahaya, Satnish Tangadans. This is the stupidity. This is another example of the Scherer doctrine that I've spoken about in the past. Let me give you another example. Yerucham Silber, my good friend from Agudas Yisrael, chimes in. Says, we can't forget that Nadler was very involved in the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And that's maybe a federal act. That's a good thing. That has to do with zoning for religious institutions, for shuls, batei midrashos, batei knesiyos, etc. And you know that in upstate New York, in Muncie, and different cases in New Jersey, we've had problems that because of this federal law, they haven't been able to prevent the Yidlach from moving into neighborhoods and building. That's true. But you see, the stupid people don't understand with their Hanifa. If Yasser Arafat was representing the amount of Orthodox Jews that Nadler does, he himself would have introduced this zoning legislation. So kommt dem gar nicht for them. He's a public servant. He serves at our pleasure, meaning we can go to the ballot box and defeat him, so to speak. So why is Yerucham Silber so klein kebbeldik? He's saying, oh, we have to appreciate. Maybe Yerucham, you're not concerned with all the immorality that he does? The Satmar Rebbe said you can't vote for the Knesset Haminim. Why? Because when the Knesset member does some immoral legislation, he's your Shliach Tziba, and it represents you. So it could be after 120 years, you go up to the Shemayim, you find out you did shrekliche things, but you didn't do it. Yes, but it's considered you did it because if you voted for him directly, he's representing you. So you understand, Nadler with all the schmutz is representing Yerucham Silver and Yosef Rappaport and a bunch of other brainless people with this late stage in the devolving culture. They still don't understand the terrible, terrible problems that this kind of Hanifa, this mindlessness is causing. So when you juxtapose in upstate New York, some perhaps Plutka, some person of average intelligence, a religious Christian woman is willing to stand up and, so to speak, be moiser nefesh at this late stage when it's decided law by the Supreme Court, and it's a law in 50 states of gay marriage, and she will not perform that marriage. At the least, she's going to lose her job. And more than that, she might get punished with fines or who knows what. And at the same time, Yerucham Silber and Yosef Rappaport, good Agudistin, are busy singing Hosannas, praise of this lowlife Jerry Nadler. You understand what the problem is, Rabbi Say? That's why this program is so valuable. This is Hashkafa 101 and 202 and 303. And we have to come together and create a new cadre of the young Dor, specifically the Lakewooders. The young Dor in Lakewood, the B'nai Torah, they have to become educated to what I'm saying. It's not because I'm saying it. I'm just an automaton. I'm a robot from Rav Avigdor Miller, from the Kashuv Rav, the Devatzina Rav, Shalom Mitzvah Balacha, and so many other Gedolei Yisrael of yesteryear, Rav Moshe, Rav Yaakov, Rav Shach. And if they hear this, this was the philosophy of the Gedolei Yisrael of yesteryear. If they hear this, and we get 50 B'nai Torah, then we get 100 B'nai Torah, we get 500, we get 1,000 in Lakewood. We'll have a koyach. The tail can wag the dog. We'll go on to Eretz Yisrael. We'll get a few thousand there. We'll go into Europe. We'll get a few hundred in London. B'nai Torah, to understand clear what the hashkafa is. Wherever Rabbi said, the silver lining here is as follows. I remember when Rav Ruderman passed away. He was the last of the big three, Rav Moshe, Rav Yaakov, Rav Ruderman, the last of the Litvish Rosh Yeshivas to pass away in the mid-80s. In the mid-1980s in Misparim. I remember I got on the radio program that night, Sunday night I spoke after the Levaya, and I said, can one find a silver lining in the Patira of the last of the big three? I said, I humbly submit that now that the last of these Gedolei Yisrael of yesteryear are gone, everything has gone down. This Katnu Adar is a tremendous Yerida, and therefore, the smaller things that we puny, pygmy midgets do is that much more choshev in the Shamayim. Rabbi said, this is the concept of Hashkafa also. In the time that we live in, the Yetzaharas that we face, that perhaps weren't faced by anybody at any time in history to the extent, the pervasiveness of it. So therefore, everything that we do, every step that we take in a positive direction, even if they're baby steps, Rabbi say, we trigger all kinds of good things. We save lives. We ensure our children's spiritual welfare and health, and our grandchildren, etc., etc. So again and again, the purpose of this program, where I'm giving out my domim tarti mashmulu, my lifeblood and my few cents going into chay for this, is because I truly believe that the stakes are so high and we can accomplish so very much. We can accomplish a gewalt, Rabbi say. I want to announce that there's a WhatsApp group called Rabbi Levin Live. Now, I don't know how to tell you how to access it. You have to get an invitation. I don't know exactly how to do it. Maybe next week I'll be able to report to you. We have now 115 followers. We're just starting. It just started Sunday. And I want to thank the administrator of the WhatsApp group for Amin Amoritz and these things. And he made it possible for me to do this. And we're talking tachlis, and people are getting educated in terms of the hashkafa, and people are contributing. People who have the hashkafa already are contributing, and they're learning more. And we're doing a bechin of Oz Nidbru Yirei Hashem. So I want to invite people to become members of this WhatsApp group so that we can become a cohesive force that could take on the powers that be. Both in the Frum community, we have to wag the dog, we have to shake him up. And in general, in the world community, we have to make it very, very clear that we are not at peace. We are not turning the other cheek towards this immorality and accepting it. We'll fight it until our last breaths. And spiritually, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will preserve our community and our values and our standards far more for every little tiny effort that we made to fight it, to be educated, to teach our children, to teach our friends. That's what it's all about. Ma'ariv Rabbi say, again, if you have a pen or pencil, please write down the hotline number and spread it around. 641-715-3900. 641-715-3900. Extension 247-656. And now, Ma'ariv Rabbi say, we are going to pause momentarily, and come back right away for part 2 of our get-together. And once again, I ask you, please spread the word about this radio program, spread the word about the hotline, spread the word about the videos, spread the word about the WhatsApp, and join this Torah revolution in which we hearken back to the Gedolei Torah of yesteryear and what they would definitely want, and which they did want, and they did act on. B'chayim chayusam. Thank you very, very much. We'll be right back.